Are moral, social, and political policies destroying the black family? I heard a disturbing report today about the number of illegitimate births, not only in black families, but in the general population, and the numbers are staggering. In black families, actually in the black community, illegitimacy is in the neighborhood of 70%. Star Parker, who wrote Uncle Sam's Plantation, and Star Parker is a black woman who was in the throes of poverty and got out of it, sees the damaging effect of this, not only on the black family, but upon the social and political structure of the United States. There was a time, if you go back to slavery, the slaveholders would break up families. This was to destroy, of course, familial unity and cohesion, by keeping bloodlines separate. Later on, however, the black family was very strong, even during times of segregation. You will find a great development within the black community of the family, of business. There was a tremendous amount of film production. There were black film production companies. We think about the Negro Leagues in baseball, competing against the white leagues. So there was a great deal of cohesion among black families very early on. It wasn't until probably the 1950s and more into the 1960s that we saw a dissolution of the black family through the Great Society, Lyndon Johnson's program, where it was an attempt to help the black family. And one way to do this, of course, was to give aid to dependent children. That is, any child born outside of wedlock, government money was given to the mother in that case. The problem with that is that people saw that as an incentive to have more children. Now, if it was an intact family, less money was given. And so what you saw happening is that women wouldn't get married, and of course men didn't see that they had any obligation to take care of their children. And so we have seen a growth in the percentage of black children being born outside of wedlock. And this has been going on for a long time. This type of information has been out there for a long time, but the political establishment has had no regard for it. And I can't maintain that they're doing this on purpose, but by creating a perpetual underclass in our society that is dependent upon government monies, you have a voting bloc that will continually vote for you. And so anytime someone comes in and says, we want to cut taxes, we want to cut these programs, or those who are now dependent upon those programs are going to say, no, I'm voting for the other guy. And then some time ago, 1965, Daniel Patrick Moynihan brought this to the attention of the political establishment in a report called The Negro Family, the Case for National Action. And Star Parker said it rocked social thinkers everywhere. His concern was that while black unemployment was decreasing, the number of blacks on welfare was increasing. His paper suggested black poverty was not just economic or legal, but it had a great deal to do with the breakdown of the Negro family. Moynihan's conclusions were feverishly attacked for blaming the victim and readily dismissed. And again, well, who else are you going to blame for this? People make bad decisions. The government, unfortunately, helps them make bad decisions. It softens the blow of that bad decision. And I mentioned in a couple of previous shows that when Katrina hit, and the poor people in these stacked homes, the government housing, were tossed to the four winds, they began to realize that they were in multi-generational poverty in the New Orleans area. You can see the same type of blight here in the Atlanta area, where government housing is closed down. It's all boarded up in places. Why? There's no incentive to get out of that condition. Why get out of the condition when you can be passive and get a paycheck sent to you in order to take care of your children in a family that is generally fatherless. For the father to stay, that means less money comes into the house. Star Parker goes on to say things have only worsened since the 1960s. When Moynihan first identified the collapse of the black family as a problem, there was only one point of contention: whether his hypothesis was true. It has been proven to be manifestly true in the years since. When Moynihan wrote, 1 out of every 4 black babies were born to unmarried women, over the next 40 years, the number of black children born to unmarried women has almost tripled. Now it's up to 70%. And to further complicate the situation, as these problems have worsened, so has the culture in which they have been addressed. This debate revolves around more fundamental questions, such as whether family should matter at all and whether our traditional notions of a husband and wife raising their children have any relevance. In other words, we're losing ground. And we are going to create in this society a perpetual underclass dependent upon the state. And you're going to start seeing shifts in population. You're already seeing shifts in population. If you go to a state like Pennsylvania, you're going to see shifts in population to the welfare side of things in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but generally in between, you find that most families are intact. And so you're going to have a kind of a two-coast liberal establishment using their political power against the central part of the state, which is generally more conservative. This upcoming election is going to demonstrate that, as Arlen Specter vies for the Senate seat now as a Democrat. You see this in the Atlanta area as well. You have a bastion of liberalism in downtown Atlanta, and probably a little bit in Macon and maybe a couple of other places. Fortunately, here in the state of Georgia, economic incentives help black families because taxes are generally low. It's a right to work state that isn't heavily unionized, and it's attracting business in here. But the federal government, its long reach has gone into the black family, essentially has subsidized immorality, and it has subsidized illegitimacy. And of course, the popular culture has made this something as well with athletics and the general music industry. Marriage is not seen as something that should be abided and kept. Parker goes on and mentions a couple of other issues here. She talks about fatherless boys. You raise up boys without fathers. Of course, girls are affected as well. It's going to have a huge impact. Adolescent sex, the whole idea of abstinence and teaching young people not to have sex before marriage. The liberal establishment just blows that out of the water. What's interesting about this, you will find that upper class women generally don't have illegitimate births. They understand the implications of all this. It's generally the underclass that doesn't, and the implications are far greater on them. They don't graduate from high school, and as a result, they have no way to get a job because there is no father in the home. Then Star Parker talks about value-free diversity, and you can see this in popular culture. It's amazing the impact on all this. How's this going to affect us long term? Well, politically, we can start seeing it. We're going to have a cultural divide. We're going to have the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots. The development of the have-not community is the result of in one sense, value-free living and subsidizing of that value-free living through our tax dollars, and it only hurts the underclass. And the one underclass that's being affected by this more than any other is the African American community here in the United States.
Gary DeMar and American Vision are excited to present this year's Worldview Super Conference in Marietta, Georgia, this July 21st through 24th. For more information, visit conference.americanvision.org. That's conference.americanvision.org.